Hello. Now, first I have to explain what the strange noise in the background may be. You may hear a little bit of ceiling fan going on because it's very hot today as I record this, and the coughing and spluttering comes from, let me just move, not him, that's Kingston, he's not too bad, but this one. This is Dexter. He's nearly 15 years old, King Charles Cavalier, and he's got arthritis and heart failure. The heart failure means he gets liquid on his lungs, so he's got what you would call a smoker's cough. So I'm getting licked, obviously. And the other one just leaving is Kingston. He's a 12-and-a-half-year-old crossed King Charles Cavalier with a Tibetan Spaniel, which basically means he's got a bigger head with less brain cells. Now, as you're getting the idea that I tend to have a little bit of fun when I'm lecturing, I don't take it seriously when we're doing this, but that doesn't mean I don't take the fact that I'm here to help all of you get the best possible pass you can seriously. In fact, that's the most important thing to me. I'm one of those old-fashioned lecturers that thinks the student is the most important thing. Some of you, I noticed on the list of names that are signed up, have had me before, and they know what I'm like. There are certain things I need to explain to you here on the introduction to this unit. I actually think this is one of the more important units that we do, although it's not technical, and you may initially struggle to think, why are we doing this unit? It's not teaching me to design anything like that, depending if you're a building designer or building surveyor, whatever your background is, whatever course you're in. But we are really looking mostly at professionalism, behaviour, ethics, honesty. We also do a little bit of very towards the end, very light introduction to business finance. Don't panic, we're not actually going to calculate anything, but we will talk about how you can do a very basic business plan and cost a job if you're doing a tender and things. So, and also we introduce the legalities of running your own practice. So, introduction to the Australian Tax Office. I don't like them. You won't like them either. They're not helpful, but they're part of life. So with Tax Office, I don't think we're going to touch superannuation particularly, but you may ask those questions and we can go into that in more detail. So let's just have a little introduction down here. I use a presentation system called Prezi, and I write these, and they are printed out as PDFs for you as well that you can get. But I don't like PowerPoint, and I like to actually let you see me when I'm talking, because we get to know each other, more engaging, not as dry. I might tell all jokes as I go along somewhere, but and you can tell I take things seriously. As my calendar here in my little office at home here in Mackay, because I do these at home and not in the office, is a Snoopy calendar. Say no more. Now, professional practice. Let's have a little look at what we've got. So I still hover in the background a little bit. We're just going to do an overview, look at the basics, tell you what the assignments are, not the questions, just what the assignments are. Coming up, the questions will be available, if they're not available by now, because I'm recording this, I think, about 3 weeks before the start of term. So let's have a little look over here at the unit. Oh, I can just fit in there nicely, can't I? Shame it's not a dartboard, give you a target. The unit itself, so we're concerned, as I said at the beginning, professional, legal, ethical behaviour in the workplace. I added on more into the greater social world as well, because you can't really separate the way you behave from the work and your own personal surroundings. So the unit here, it aims to give you a basic introduction to a few issues. So we're going to introduce you into the expectations of a professional. Try to keep it to the construction property professions as much as we can, although examples can come from almost anywhere. Legal, medical, accounting, you game it, they've all got the same ethics behind them. And to help you deal with different people, we go into a reasonable consideration of the different personality types that you're going to come across, the safety, occupational health safety of workplaces, what the motivation is for people to actually work. Not everybody's motivated by money. I once didn't know what I was doing in my career many years ago. I'm a chartered building surveyor from the UK originally. Been in Australia for 16 years now, so I'm an asset and facilities manager here really. And I know when I think, I was bored with what I was doing, I did some tests and some counselling and coaching, and it turns out I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by accuracy, quality, client satisfaction, all those sort of wibbly wobbly waffly stuff. And then we're going to look at other issues as well, which will become clear as we go along. Me, nice to you, those who've never met me before. Name's Kevin Stone. I've got a Master of Arts in Architectural Building Conservation. My building surveying degree is actually in building surveying, and I'm a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. I could be a fellow, but I don't want to pay the extra fees. I'm a bit tight that way. So as I said, I'm a chartered building surveyor. I specialise in heritage buildings, facilities and asset management, especially whole of life profiling, the costs of a development or property from inception to disposal. I worked in London when I first qualified for major clients on both sides. I was a client side project manager, so I was actually employing and monitoring professionals like yourselves at work. I've sat on both sides of the fence. I eventually developed a university degree course in building surveying. I ran which became the top recognised course for a few years until I left, I like to think. I started up a professional practice myself, and I sold that before I came to Australia in 2004, where I started working for GHD, which is now it's a multinational engineering consultancy. I was the South East Queensland manager for asset and facilities management. I then, when the GFC hit, if you know about that from your parents possibly, I was offered a job in Queensland State Government as the manager of property. And I thought, good idea, so I jumped into that. Well, you know what it's like, your whole life's commercial. It's the typical round peg in the square hole. Didn't work terribly well. And actually that drove me to having quite a lot of problems, and I was off work for nearly 2 years after, I suppose you would say, having a bit of a breakdown because of that job. I lectured as a specialist casual lecturer at the University of Queensland for nearly 4 years, I think. And I was running my own consultancy still. I started that up many years ago. I had clients as Queensland Rail, Blue Care, Horizon, loads of people like that. Brisbane City Council, Melbourne City Council. Can talk about that later. I became a Prince 2 project management practitioner. I'm also a professional architectural photographer. I've been at CQU now for 4 years, lecturer in the built environment. I was doing my PhD in condition assessment of buildings, but unfortunately after COVID knocked all the universities financially, and we lost a lot of staff at the university. A lot were made redundant and left voluntarily. It turned out there was nobody at CQU with the skill set to supervise my PhD subject, so that's now been basically cancelled, and I'm looking to take my PhD to another university when things settle down a little bit more. So that's a little bit about me. I'm very approachable, very helpful. I'm probably not particularly politically correct at times, so if I say something that somebody goes, oh, I didn't like that, tell me about it so I don't make the mistake a second time. Okay? If you don't tell me personally, I won't understand, because I'm old. So there we go, that's a little bit about me. And at the end of the course, nothing, because I didn't really want to go into all the bits and pieces about student attributes, etc. There are lots of readings that come up. There are the core readings, so Really look at the Moodle site every week for the prescribed readings, because they're in there now. They will not change throughout the unit. Any new readings I come up with, or new things I find that might be of interest to you, won't go into Moodle, because that's set and will not change now, because this unit uses Microsoft Teams. Talk about that a little bit later, but things will be sent directly to you in Teams. When something's sent into Teams, because you're a user and you're enrolled in Teams, you get an email telling you it's there, so there's no reason to miss anything. And it works the other way, you can send things my way. Download and use the study guide, okay? I took the old study guide, I've updated the old study guide, jazzed it up a bit, and I've actually included screenshots of every page of the Moodle as an appendix in it. So there's no excuse for anybody saying later on, I didn't know. Okay? That's not acceptable anymore, I didn't know something. Not only because you can read it in Moodle and it's in your study guide, so you should have it there, but also because if you don't know or you're confused, you should ask the question through Teams instantly, and Teams normally gives you an answer sometimes within minutes, if not quicker. Okay? It's not like the old forums in Moodle, which we do not use. They were just slow. Okay, so remember that everything in the study guide and the Moodle is the basic information. Absolute basic information. If you really want to do well and understand this subject, you've got to do some research of your own. And the big thing about the research of your own is you research the bits of the subject that you find more interesting. You don't research all of it. You might read something or I'll say something in a lecture and you go, oh, that's interesting. That's the bit you go and look up yourself. Okay, so you personalise the unit as you go along. Student contact. Now this is really important, okay? Don't sit on your own worrying, which happens quite often. I know it's very weird doing this distance learning where some of us have come out of school or whatever and we're just at home all the time, and that's really disheartening. But you can always talk to me whenever you want. I mean, that thing about the Teams, we say you can get me most of the time, or we can have a chat and a joke, so don't feel left alone. You can do that amongst yourselves as well, so you can talk to each other. So it's really as close as we can get to actually all being in the same building and campus. You aren't on your own, you're all doing the same thing. All your fellow students are experiencing exactly what you've got, but they may have different life experience, they might be older at work or whatever, and they'll have a different view and they might be able to help you. Questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, we always say that, ask the question. Alright, because I guarantee you there'll be another handful of students who want to ask the same question but they're too embarrassed to. Don't be damn embarrassed, alright? We have a weekly live tutorial, normally in the evening about 7 p.m, runs for an hour, but it can run over if we're having a good time. Use those to raise questions and to listen to each other, okay, because you're going to teach each other as much as I'm going to help you. Use the unit's Microsoft team, alright? That's how we communicate in this unit. We do not use the forums, the Q&As in Moodle. They will not be monitored by me. So anything you put in those forums just will not get a response. You have to pop it through Microsoft Teams. And mainly at the bottom here, make use of the lecturer. That's me. I'm here to help you and get you the best pass I possibly can. So use me. Alright? Don't abuse me, but ask me anything, ask for help. I do look at draft assignments before you finalise them and put them in for the first written assignment. I don't do it for the last one. So you get a one-off offer of sending me a Word document of what you think you've written, hopefully at least a week or so before it's due in, and I will go through it. I will use track changes, and I'll explain that if no one knows what they are, which lets me put comments all over your document. I can make corrections to it, I can ask questions where I think you've missed something. I won't tell you the answers, but I'll point you in the right way. So really please make use of that. Generally if I'm lucky, I'll get 20% of the students enrolled that make use of that, and guess who's at the top of the pass ratings? That 20%. So it's an offer, it's there, it costs you nothing, Makes more work for me, but I'm happy to do it for you. Now let's have a little look. So email. You can email me, but the only reason you email me is if it's a personal issue. You might be thinking, something might have happened in your life that you don't want to tell everybody about, and you might want to talk about it. It's impacting your progress. You might need to, ask, can I go for an extension of time on something? Or you might want me to help you get in touch with the academic learning support. Academic learning support, while we're at it, they help you learn how to understand a question, how to write, and don't feel silly about that, because when I started my PhD, although I could write very complex technical reports, I could not write academic English. And to progress with the PhD, there was one unit I had to pass, and it took me 3 attempts to pass the unit. On the 3rd attempt, I used the academic learning people, and it was just brilliant. I learned so much. So please feel free to use that. Anything else that's not personal, anything else, do it through Microsoft Teams. Now you'll see in Moodle there's 3 little videos in there, 2 from me and 1 from Microsoft, on how to use Teams. Now as students, you get to download Teams, if you haven't already got it, free, and you are automatically enrolled on the team for the units you're taking. That's if the unit said it was going to use Teams. Some of the older people don't like to use it because they think it gives them more work, because they get more questions and students expect us to answer even quicker. I've been known, because I have it on my mobile phone, I've answered questions when I've been out fishing. Well, I don't fish, I go for the boat trip. When I'm having a beer at the weekend, if it beeps and I've got time, I'll answer it there and then. Okay? So make free use of that. More about the Microsoft Teams. This is how important it is to this unit, really. Past feedback from students was fantastic about this Teams. Post all your questions in Microsoft Teams. It's rather like texting, really. There is a general thread, and that's for sharing, for me really, to share resources to you, send you things I've found, and for general questions, like general questions about the assignment presentation, general questions about when's the tutorial, that sort of stuff. Okay? Now if you imagine you put questions about absolutely everything in just that general one, and you wanted to go and find the answer to something later on, it's a nightmare. So we also have weekly threads. So you've got a general one, and then you'll have one for every week of the unit. So week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We use those to ask questions and talk about that week's subject only. And then when you want to go and find it, it's so much easier to find what someone else said and answered. Okay, so really it's got to be strict about that, otherwise you will get in a mess, and me. Now when you're asking a question, there's an automatic system built into Teams. Now, if you're going to ask a question like, Kevin, what's the meaning of this, whatever I've said? When you've watched the video, if you haven't already, you'll understand. You put in at, the little squiggly ampersand, and if it's directed at one person, you're telling them something, you're Kieran or Emily, and their address will come up, and it'll only go to them. If after the squiggly at you put BLAR 1105, 2 is it? 3? It'll go to everybody who's in the unit. But questions need to go to something called the question bot, which is the little squiggly ampersand at question. Okay? As soon as you put QU in, it will come up automatically for you. Then you type your question in. It goes to the automatic question bot, which looks through its database to see has that question or something that sounds similar to that question been asked before. If it has, because it remembers everything that's done, it'll send back that answer to you, or probably within a minute. It'll send it back to you, and you'll go, "Oh, that's right, perfect," or "That's not what I meant." But it has the little question every time. It says, "Was this helpful, yes or no?" If you say yes, you don't get anything else happen. If you say no, then the question thing sends it to me, and I give the correct answer, which it remembers for next time for someone else, and it comes back to you from me. As we ask more questions, it builds up more of a database. Now the whole thing is, quite a lot of questions that are asked are repeated all the time, and this is just a way of making sure you get the answer as quick as we possibly can. Okay? So it's worth struggling along with that, because it does get everybody a good question. So that's it. The other ones, I get them to answer, and then they turn into an automatic answer for the next person who asks that question. So it's a really good way of doing it. Contacting me, well, or not me, I'll contact you. I mean, I can email and I can telephone you all right? Especially if I notice you're not coming to the tutorials, and I go online and see you've not accessed the tutorial recording. I'll get really worried by then for you. Not annoyed, but just worried. Remember, you're paying to do this course and this unit. It's costing money. Right, you may well have your student loan, but you've got to pay it off later on anyway. So you want value for money out of this. And the only way you get that is by using me properly. Even if I think you're doing really well, I still might call you up. Just to say, oh, how are you getting on? Got any suggestions how we can do things better? Got any jokes? Because I don't want you to sit there all on your own. However, nowadays, most of this sort of communication goes through Teams. Teams isn't just text, isn't just texting to each other. You can actually ring up like a telephone and video call through it. Okay, so you've got to make the most of all of these things. Student services, as I already mentioned, the academic learning people. But remember, they're there to help you. If you want just a bit of talk to them about particular needs you might have, it might be maths or writing or something, they'll help you out. If you're getting stressed, they can help you out with that sort of stuff. Come to me as well if you're having things, stressy problems, because I've been there. Okay, and the library, don't underestimate how helpful the ladies and the blokes are at the library. Okay, they're more than happy to talk to you, because as you see, if you ever go into some libraries nowadays, there's less and less books because it's all gone electronic, and I think the librarians feel a bit left out. So, got to make them feel wanted. Engagement, I can see what you've accessed. I know what you've clicked on, what date you did it, what time you did it, and I know a lot of students go click and think that was it. I can see how long you've kept on it. So I know if you've read or watched it, if I want to go and look it up. I tend to go and look at that stuff if someone's not getting very good marks or something, to see what's happening. I can see everything. So I can identify people having issues or are increasing risk of failing. I like to get no fails in my unit if I can. I can see what someone's clicked on and how that goes into their marks and what their gains. There is a direct correlation between how much you get involved in the information and the unit and what mark you get. So the most engaged students almost always get the highest marks. If you engage through the Microsoft team and your fellow students, which is the much easier way of doing it, because you're also used to using social media and messaging and Facebooking and all whatever the latest thing is, it's similar to that. So really get involved and help each other. Okay, so just a little comment about the assignments for you. Okay, I forgot to update it. There's actually 4 assignments. I knew this would happen straight away. I knew it would happen. There's 4 assignments. Okay, you'll find all the supporting documents. I might even be giving you a template for a professional report. They're going to be available, or are available, should I say, from the Moodle site, and I will also send those things to everybody through Teams to make sure you've actually got what you need. Assignment number 1, it's a quiz. It's an online quiz. You've got 15 minutes to finish it. So true or false. Okay, I won't say too much about it yet. I'll say a bit more later on. I haven't updated when these things are due yet, but that first quiz is due at the end of week 2 or 3, I think it'll be, but I'll update that. In fact, if I haven't already, I keep forgetting I'm doing this before we start. I've probably already done it, so. Assessment 2, notice it's got the wrong date because I just nicked it off of the previous one. This is your first written assessment. It has to be a professional report, and we talk about that in a minute. It's worth 40% of the overall unit. We're looking for about 2,000 words. I don't penalise people for going over. Normally we say plus or minus 10%, but if someone's writing a really good piece of work, I don't mind seeing 3,000 words. Presentation's worth a lot for the first written one, so 10%, okay, because you've got to get that professional report and everything pinpointed. You've got to hammer that one, knock it on the nail. Content, obviously, and referencing. Without getting referencing right, you're getting at risk of plagiarism, so be careful. Here we go. See, I've got the wrong old date here again, but it's another quiz, true or false. You get one attempt at it. It's worth 10%, as the first one was worth 10% of the unit, and you've got 15 minutes to do it. Quizzes, no problem. And then the final one, this is due at the end of week 10, so I did update this one. Again, it's a professional report, 2,000 words plus or minus 10%, or more if you want to. Just let me know more's coming. Presentation's only worth 5% by now, because we're assuming you've got the hang of it. The content's worth a little bit more, and the references are still 5%, so that's 40%. So the two written ones come to 80%, and the two quizzes, which are 10% each, round it up to 100%. So you should be all good. Submission requirements. Okay, submission requirements. Something popped up on my screen. When you complete your assignment, there are minimum. You must include these things. This is the easiest and stupidest way to give away marks. Okay, and this is why you should definitely see a draft of your first written assignment, which is assignment number 2, because I can catch these before they get into a real problem for you. Okay, so presentation layout. So now obviously grammar, spelling, formatting, the selection of, and it's stipulated, right? You do not pick the font and everything. I've told you what to use. This is a unit about professional behaviour and performance. The client wants something, you have to give the client that. You can't give them something else. Think of me as the client. So if you go and have a look in the student guide or the Moodle site, it tells you the font's Arial. I like Arial just because I find it the easiest one for me to read. So I don't want fiddly stuff, I only want Arial. Okay, it's got to be, written, the general appearance of the document, attention to your detail, quality of your arrangements with regard to the page, numbering, headings, margins. You might put footnotes in. Okay, but it's got to be a professional report presentation, and I like them illustrated. I like to see pictures and graphs, just like a book. There we go, illustrate the report. Use maps and tables and charts and photographs, technical illustrations. Be careful with clip art. I don't want to see cartoons. If you nick stuff if you lift things like this off the internet, you've got to reference where it came from though, okay? So learn how to insert all these things into a Word document, and the best way I can say is just go and have a look on YouTube, because there are bloody hundreds, if not thousands, of short videos showing you how to do it. So spend a quarter of an hour looking at a couple of those and you'll be fantastic. That's how I learned. The content, it's got to include accuracy and relevance of the information supplied in relation to the task, the question. Do not pad it. Do not write as the way you speak, what not like Queen's English, like I does. Don't pad, because when you send me the draft of that second one, your first written assignment, I will put red lines through a lot of it if you're writing like you used to do at school for an essay, okay? Avoid silly errors. Proofread it before you send it. Get someone else to proofread it who doesn't know anything about the subject or question. If they can understand what you've written, it's brilliant. If they can't, they can't. And the proofreaders will find errors that you haven't seen. I mean, as I said, I've already had errors in this presentation because I got carried away. Now, it mentions turning the Word document into a PDF, and then we used to do this, but that was, you had to make sure that the incorrect spellings and things had all been removed before you did it. Forget that, because you do not give me a PDF. You give me a Word document, okay? Because I want to give you track changes back. So there's mistake number 2 for the presentation. Use the Harvard referencing system. You should know this from previous units you've done, okay? Again, I will recommend you install a little, a large bit of software called EndNote to help you with your referencing. There's a lot of help in the library about EndNote, and as a student you get it free. It's a pain in the arse for the first 2 or 3 weeks you use it, but after that it starts to become invaluable because it makes your referencing so easy. The style manual. This is what you have to do. So the length, which we were saying is 2,000 words for assignments 2 and 4, plus, it can go minus, but plus 10%. As I've said, I don't mind a bit more anyway. Quality is better than quantity. Margins top and bottom. I couldn't remember when I wrote this, but it's in the Moodle and the study guide. Line spacing between all the lines of your text. I want 1.5 spacing. Okay, it's easier to read. I don't want 1 or 1.1 or 1.5 spacing. Margins from the left and right is 2.5. The title, the front page, must have the assignment title and the author, your name, which includes your the student name and your number, the course code and its number, the assessment number, the due date and the weighting as required on the title page. It should all be in 14-point Arial, bold, and you only capitalise the first letter of it, not all of it. And the table of contents and figures, etc., all have to be, again, in Arial, fully justified. The table of contents has to be an automatic one in Word. I can show you how to do it, or YouTube it. It's really simple. You have to provide an executive summary, which is a snapshot, about 10 lines long. And that's the page you see after you turn over the cover page, the title page, but it's before the contents. And this is how executives have a quick read and decide if they're going to bother with the rest of the report. Okay, so you're going to try and, it's like fishing. This is the bait to get someone to read the rest of your thing. It's not the answer, it's just get me to read it. Automatic table of contents, as I said. You've got to page number everything throughout your submission. About it. There are things like Word templates we can talk about. The main text, not the headings and that, is Arial, 12-point, at 1.5 line spacing. Between paragraphs, leave a blank line. Justify it. You might have more than one question. Say there's 3 questions in the assignment. Each question starts on a brand new page, a new chapter, a new section. Okay? Headings and subheadings. Capital letters for a main heading, it's bold, it's 12-point Arial. Subheadings, only the first letter of it is capital, the rest of it's not, but it's still bold, 12-point Arial. And other bits and pieces. Just to remind you, this must be on the front page, without fail. You get this wrong, you will lose at least 1 mark out of your presentation, if not more. Assessment submission, you should know this, is electronic submission. It has to be done through Moodle, okay, and turn it in. Got to be received on or before the due date, unless you've got an extension of time. Any change to the date, sometimes I might change the date because there's a clash with other units and that, and you're under too much stress. I might move it by a week or so. That would be published not in the Moodle News Forum. This is mistake number 3 now, but through Microsoft Teams, and I will update in Moodle the due date as well in Turn It In, so it doesn't think you're late. Don't need to go through much more of that, should be straightforward because you can read all this later. File formats, this is where I did update it. Microsoft Word document only, no PDFs. Okay, no PDFs, and you just put in 1 file. Extensions of time, it says only in exceptional circumstances. That's why you have a chat with me first of all, so I can tell you whether to do it or not. Anything up to 13 or 14 days I approve. Anything over that has to go above me for approval. Obviously you really need to have some sort of documentation. If you've got a medical certificate, it's a no-brainer. Otherwise it might be a letter from your employer or something because you've been asked to work overtime or something. But talk to me when you get in a situation for thinking of getting one of these. And you have to do that through the extension assessment system in your, or my CQE portal, your student portal. Plagiarism. I'll let you read that yourself, alright? It's where you take things out of other sources, and if you haven't referenced it, then we will assume you think you're presenting it as your own work, and you can't do that. That's one of the biggest no-nos you can do. What is plagiarism? I'm going to allow you to read this yourself. I don't want to go through it. Referencing. This is one of the main causes why you get done for plagiarism, because you've not referenced properly. So, EndNote, Harvard referencing system, okay? So that's your assignments. There's one thing that you need to get done. This really should be in most units, and it's just something you can do informally on the background to it. Oh, I can see through this one again. Hello. Reflections are based on your feelings about what you've been doing, but it's done in a structured way. Because I'm a surveyor, I like structure. I'm not an arty type person who likes fairy things. And professionals do this throughout their entire career. Majority do it informally, and a lot of them don't even know they're doing it, but they do this. I personally adopted one I found called a Gibbs reflective cycle, so I like it. It's logical, systematic. You'll also find committing your innermost thoughts to paper is really, really uncomfortable and difficult to do to start with. Well, all you've got to do is remember that no one else sees it. This could be a diary on your desk, or it could just be a Word document that you keep adding things to. So you can look back later on and go, that happened before, and that's what I did last time, and it didn't work. So I remember not to do that. Or it could be, I did this last time and it worked. So it's a way of building your experience. Okay, so the Gibbs reflective cycle, this is, and I use these just as headings. So these are on one bit of paper, headings, and I just put a little comment in the bottom. I do have a reflective thing that I had to do when I was doing my teaching units when I started. I'm quite happy to let you see it. The language can be quite fruity at times, because I was very frustrated. So, but you start off with a description, and what did you feel about it, and then you evaluate, was it good or bad, analyse it, and what's your conclusion? You're going to do it next time, you're going to change it, and then an action plan. That could mean, oh, I need to get a bit of training in this, or I'm going to watch a YouTube video on this, or whatever. So I do have to mention political correctness. Be careful of upsetting people, especially we're all reading the team and everything. Trouble is, you don't know what upsets people nowadays. When I was at uni, well, it was probably like the Wild West. We could joke about anything. We didn't care if we upset people, which with hindsight wasn't right, but I think PC's gone way, way too far. Okay? Started off with a good idea and that, but it's just been hijacked and gone mad. Have a look there, there's a little link there which will take you to John Cleese's views. I mean, I don't know if I clicked it now whether it would work. Academically, I'm a strong believer you should have free speech to say what you want, even if it's contrary to what people are telling you. With me, you can say what you like. All right? So you can't upset me. My nickname's Fat Pom anyway. And let me see if John Cleese from 40 Towers does work. Yeah, it'd be good if you could actually hear him, wouldn't it? It does work, so I won't carry on with it. You go and have a look. He has a very good comment to make. So you go to Johnny Cleese there. He's quite funny. Questions. Ask them all through the team, alright? I explained this a bit earlier on, so all the team and in the week's thread for that subject, not the general one. Don't email me unless it's personal, because I won't answer them because I'll get too many anyway. Student mentor program. There are mentors, they're volunteers, they're students further through their courses, normally second, third, fourth years, and they can actually help you an awful lot. They can help you get through all the systems and everything you can do, and they can probably give you the pointers on individual members of staff. Mistake number 4. We use Moodle groups, email. Well, we use Microsoft Teams, not Moodle groups. We do use email a bit. We use Zoom for having a chat and face-to-face catch-ups. Alright, so all of those are worthwhile. You've got to be connected. You've got to feel as if you're part of some sort of like meaningful group, no matter where you are. I mean, I've had students in Malaysia, Canada, who was the other one I've had? The Maldives. As long as I had an internet connection, they were there, because they were all at work and that's where their companies put them all. So we can give you support wherever you are. If you come up with a study tip or like, share it with everybody in the team. Help them out as much as you can. And all I can say, share and engage. Trying to get together. If you want to, you can set an external Facebook page up, so you can all join a Facebook. I don't want to be part of it, because I do not want to see what you're talking about. That's for you to have a go at. But you can share experiences and things, motivate each other if you want to do this. Okay, so try to be part of a team. The lectures, gone too far. All the lectures are pre-recorded. Aha! This is pre-recorded. They're made available on Monday of each week. I might, if I get ahead of myself, just pop them in straight away, so you might be able to go ahead of yourself a little bit there. When I've pre-recorded a lecture, not only does it get put in Moodle, but I will send you the link to it through the Microsoft team for that week. Okay, to try and make sure, belt and braces, you've all got it. You can watch them whenever you like. I mean, this one's gone on for 41 minutes and 50 seconds so far, which is a lot to watch. You don't have to watch it all in one go. You can watch it on the bus or in, little bite-sized pieces. That's the pleasure and the beauty of these recorded ones. Tutorials. We have a live tutorial every week. Well, apart from the mid-unit break, we don't. They're all on Zoom. They're in the evening because a lot of people are at work. Normally about 7 p.m. Queensland time. I don't record them every time, so don't assume you can just watch the recordings, because I'm a bit of a swine like that. Sometimes I might throw a little short 10-minute lecture in about something. They're basically run on a question and answer basis. Okay, so you have to be getting involved and talking and asking questions. You'll see, going through the Moodle each week, that quite often I'll put in a discussion question, which I want you lot to talk about through Teams, so that we can talk about it when we get to the tutorial. And it should raise lots of issues as long as you're not shy. And it's important to note there is a direct correlation between the marks that you get and how much you've been to the tutorials. It's unavoidable. Okay? Study guide. Okay, you must download the full study guide from Moodle, but I'm still going to send it to you in Microsoft Teams as well. It's got all the basic information, it's got the readings in there, and the readings that are in the study guide are must reads, because there's not many of them. But I've also this year screenshotted every page, every week of the Moodle and put them in as an appendix. It's a bit small, but if you download it on your screen, you can zoom the screen to read it quite comfortably. You have to do some personal research and study, alright? You can't rely just on what's in the Moodle and the study guide. Alright, we're not spoon feeding you. You're supposed to be able to do your own work now. This is a second year one, isn't it, really? Weekly subjects. Weeks 1 to 5. This is cock up number 5, because I used the template from another one I did. These are already in Moodle, by the way, so I don't feel embarrassed at all. Stupid boy. So that is really... Oh, look. He's snoring now. Probably can't hear him. It's funny, when he coughs, he breaks wind at the same time, and he looks surprised every single time. Poor dog. So that's the introduction over with, okay? Sorry about a couple of little cock-ups in this. I'll try and make sure there's no others. I the weekly subjects will just go to Moodle because they're already there. As soon as I let you see Moodle, they're there. I know that for a fact. As I said, I'm recording this 3 or 4 weeks before the start of term, so I'm going to go and work on week 1 lecture now, and then I'll be recording that in a day or two's time, I hope. I just had my hair cut, you notice? And look, I'm going grey. I'm only 59. In fact, got all my own teeth though, even though they're little. Right, I take things really seriously. I do sometimes send out funny stuff. I might find a funny thing on YouTube or a funny joke, and I'll send it out through Teams just to sort of cheer you all up a little bit, and you can send them back to me. And there are people, obviously I noticed a few names that have had me before. If they pop into Teams, just to confirm that I'm not completely insane, but you can have a laugh with me if you want to, right? If for any reason you're not feeling too happy about something, call, talk to me about it. If you think I'm being too irrelevant for you, talk to me about it. That's really it. I can't do any more to help you out, really. I'm going to stop recording and go and have a nice cold glass of water. I hope this has been informative, pointless, amusing sometimes, I don't know. But they get a bit dry now we do the real subjects. Only joking. Right, ta-ta. See you next time.